Welcome everyone to the very first of our new career exploration series, Career Launch DSM, IT, and Technology, presented by the Greater Des Moines Partnership and Tallo. So my name is Crystal Barkley. I am the education coordinator here at Tallo, and I am going to be leading you through today's exciting, innovative, and just really fast-paced event. So it's an honor and a privilege to host high school students from our own state of Iowa. And we also appreciate all the classrooms that are tuning in today to learn more about information technology and all things computer science. So before we get started, it is my pleasure to welcome Marvin, the Senior Vice President of Talent Development at the Greater Des Moines Partnership. Hello, Marvin.
Hello, and thank you, Crystal. Yeah. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. My name is Marvin, and I serve as the Senior Vice President of Talent Development of the Greater Des Moines Partnership. We're the regional economic development organization and chamber of commerce serving 10 counties in central Iowa with 24 affiliate chambers of commerce and more than 6,600 members. I'm excited to welcome everyone to the first event in our Career Launch DSM series. Today, we're focused on IT and technology opportunities, all located right here in central Iowa. We thank all the teachers and school administrators for joining us and for your support of providing meaningful career exploration opportunities for your students. We also thank our partners, Iowa State University, DMAC, Microsoft, and Amazon for joining us today. Greater Des Moines is strong and a great place to work because of educational institutions and businesses like these who invest in our community. The organizations joining us today are excited to continue investing in students here in Central Iowa, and we're grateful for all the work they do. We know jobs of the future will look different in many cases than the jobs that exist right now. And our regional educational institutions like Iowa State and DMAC are preparing students for those future jobs. I'm excited for them to discuss what technology pathways they have for students to provide skills needed for the workforce for the future. Technology will continue to advance, and we have businesses like Microsoft and Amazon that are embracing those changes. They'll share more about their career opportunities later today. When the time comes for you to figure out where you want to live and what you want to accomplish in your post-education career, we encourage you to consider Greater Des Moines. Des Moines is one of the best cities for working in technology, and the job opportunities in technology we have here continue to grow. Thanks for being part of this journey with us. We're excited to get started, and we're glad that you're joining us today. I'll turn it back over to you, Crystal, and the Tallo team to get us rolling.
All right. Thank you so much, Marvin, for starting us off and just kicking off the event today. So before we get started with today's sessions, we wanted to take a moment and remind you of Tallo and utilizing Tallo just to prepare for your future, be it in IT and technology or whatever you want to do within your future. So I'm interested, based off of the 11 attendees, and I know that we have a lot of classrooms visiting today, how many of you are currently utilizing Tallo? So if you look at your screen, there is an option to respond in a Q&A box. So let's test that out right now. So if you are using Tallo, could you please drop a note of like, yes, we have a Tallo profile. If you don't, just put in a little no in there, just so we could get an idea of what we're working with today. Let's practice out using our technology too. I know it's early in the morning. We got to get ready for this. So I got some no, some yes. We have a yes. Yes, we have a Tallo profile. Great. Wow. Oh my gosh, so many more people than I anticipated. This is incredible. So having a Tallo profile is a really great way to kickstart your future. So for those of you who do not know, Tallo is a free digital portfolio platform that you can join starting at the age of 13 to organize what you've done in your life. So your memberships, your involvement, your interests, your hobbies, as well as what you want to do in your future. So your goals, your plans, the careers that you're interested in, maybe IT and tech, or even the colleges and companies and different places where you want to work. So on Tallo, you can use all of this that you put into your digital portfolio to connect to different opportunities like scholarships, internships, 20 billion. I know that sounds great. $20 billion worth of scholarships, and even actual colleges and companies. So we have someone that's going to be dropping the link to Tallo into the chat here. So if you don't have a profile, I know the vast majority of you do, you can click on there and sign up by clicking sign up in the upper right-hand corner of the Tallo screen. So it's really simple to sign up. Tallo also has a virtual college and career fair matching system called Ping, where you can explore different colleges and companies from the comfort of your own home and on your own time, which is pretty convenient, especially in today's world. So we wanted to spotlight one of the new Ping fairs that is going to be focused on November 17th. So Ping is going to be hosting an engineering and computer science virtual college fair. So my colleague Paige just dropped that into the chat for you. So through that link, you can learn more about Ping, see some other fairs that are going to be featured, learn more and register. So at the end of today, make sure to really update your Tallo profile to reflect your goals, what you want to do. You're going to be hearing from different colleges and 2 companies about careers within IT and pathways to get there. So think about that and how it applies to you, and then reflect that onto your Tallo profile. The more up to date your Tallo profile is, the better the chances of you getting an opportunity that is right for you. And we will kick things off with an educational panel introducing some degree pathways in your state of Iowa. So we have Iowa State University and Des Moines Community College. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our first session, an educational panel featuring Iowa State University and DMAC. So reminder attendees, you can use the Q&A at any time to ask our panelists some questions that you may have throughout the session. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce those that are joining us today. So we have Rob Denson, Michelle Roos, and Doug Jacobson. So I'd love to start with just some round robin introductions. So please just introduce yourself, talk about maybe your role and what school you are representing.
Well, I'm Rob Denson. I'm president of Des Moines Area Community College. Been here for 18 years, and I'm the first native-born Iowan to be president of DMAC. We serve about 36,000 credit and 22,000 non-credit students every year, with about 230 degrees, diplomas, and certificates, and work very close with business and industry to make sure that our graduates leave DMAC work ready and ready to be true professionals, and or transfer on to any other college or university. I will state that Iowa State is the largest transfer recipient of DMAC students, and we've got some great relationships with Iowa State, but very glad to be on the session.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. So it seems like Michelle isn't here just yet. So when she pops in, I'll have her introduce herself. But I know you two know each other very well, but for everyone else that is attending, love for you, Doug, to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm Doug Jacobson. I'm a faculty member here at Iowa State University, and I run pretty much everything cyber at Iowa State, but also I'm involved in a lot of the other computing disciplines. As Rob mentioned, we work very closely on various types of pathways between Iowa State and DMAC. We've been strong partners for a long time. I've been in Iowa, so we'll play this how long you've been there. I've been in Iowa State for 37 years on the faculty. So
we have 2 very experienced individuals to give a wealth of knowledge to everyone here today. So now that we've kind of talked a little bit about your roles, let's describe at a high level, what are some of the IT and computer science pathways that you each have at either DMAC or Iowa State? So what degree options are available? So let's start with you, Rob.
Well, yeah, Michelle is the expert on this. The college president, as no one would be surprised, knows very little. But I will tell you that we work, as I mentioned earlier, with business and industry throughout our area. Every one of our programs has an advisory committee of the businesses that hire students out of those programs. So we design our curriculum in credit and non-credit to meet their specific needs. And even between companies, some company may need one particular technology or competency, and another would be different. So we adjust our training to them. In our best place is when we're able to work out work-based learning arrangements with companies where students can actually work part-time in the field of their interest with a company that's likely to hire them while they're going through DMAC and getting their credentials. But we've got 1-year degrees, 2-year degrees, we've got short-term certificates in virtually any area of software development, IT. We've got and Doug can talk about this. Doug led us in creating the Iowa Cyber Hub, which is a 2+2 that we've developed with Iowa State that really we've made available to other colleges so that students that are interested in the cyber area can be with us for 2 years and then transfer fully to Iowa State. We run a software development program up in Jefferson, Iowa with Accenture, a very specialized program using our computer science curriculum then these individuals are hired in a software development center in Jefferson, Iowa, that was created with Iowa Central Community College, Accenture, and DMAC. So really, it's kind of the what do you want the answer to be kind of their scenario. Again, and this is true with Iowa State too. We design our programs based upon the demands of industry and the interests of potential employees or students. And as long as we can stay in that sweet spot, we've been very successful.
That's amazing. I love that there's a lot of flexibility and you kind of work based off of the people you're working with. So you're fitting programs to them as opposed to people feeling like they have to fit into your programs, which is really inspiring.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, sometimes we're reluctant to refer to students as customers, but they are. Just like this fall. I mean, obviously we've all gone through COVID. We went pretty much totally online for 18 months. But as of fall, we opened up courses based on student interest. And so if they wanted a face-to-face class in a course that normally would have been face-to-face, we opened it up for them. And about 60% of our student credits now are face-to-face, but that's because students wanted that.
Yeah.
But they can also choose to use our online option. So we've got to, again, train to the competencies required by the businesses that are going to hire those students or the schools where they're going to transfer. And at the same time, make sure that we keep our student interests in mind and help them. You know, many of our students come to us without really a clear understanding of their major. And when I speak to students, I say, how many of you are undecided? And about, half of them will raise their hand. And then what I usually say is, this is very normal. Half of you are undecided, the other half are wrong. Because so many students don't really have the time and understanding while they're in their juniors, 8th grade to 12th grade in high school to really understand even what the options are. So we take our programs, put them into various sectors. We've got 9 pathways at DMAC. So if you know you're interested in health, but you don't know what area of health, you come in and explore. Same with IT. You'd come in and say, okay, you probably don't even know what the options are in IT and what the specialties are. And so you come in, you explore some general IT, and then you keep narrowing down the funnel until you land in something where you've got passion.
Yeah, well, I love that. The fact that you're willing to adjust based off of students, and it's okay not to know everything. You don't have to have everything figured out right from when you graduate. So that's really inspiring. So Doug, would you like to speak more about the pathways at Iowa State?
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State is a 4-year institution. We get some number of students that, as Rob has mentioned, that come through DMAC. That is a great place for them to discover what they want to do before they come to Iowa State. As far as computing disciplines at Iowa State, our major disciplines, we have computer science, classical computer science. We have computer engineering, which deals a little bit more with the hardware side of computing. We have software engineering, which deals with the development process of software. And then our newest degree is cybersecurity engineering, which deals with how to protect all this mess that we've created. And that's what we work probably most closely with Rob on, although there are pathways with computer science and other degrees. We also have options for minors. So students who are in another discipline, computer science or computer engineering, can get a cyber minor. So they can focus on a primary discipline and a secondary discipline. And so again, we build off on, as Rob mentioned, same thing. We have industrial advisory boards. They tell us what they want. In our engineering college, I think we're 30% of our incoming engineers are undeclared. So not quite as high as the community college, but they're undeclared engineers. And we do the same thing as Rob does. We offer ways to experiment, to play, to see what you want to do. Because I'm not sure knew what I wanted to do when I came to school. So I'm not sure I still know what I want to do, but.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us could empathize with that. I mean, I changed my major 3 times, but thank you for explaining a little bit more about what each feature of this goes into, because as like an English major, I had no understanding really what computer science is. So I really appreciated that. And I'm sure students appreciated that as well. So speaking of students, what could students do to prepare themselves, even if they may be undecided, to getting into these different pathways? So either of you can go ahead and start if you want to jump in.
Yeah, Doug, you want to take
a? Yeah, I'll take a pass at it. There's several ways to get involved in IT and see if it's something that you think is fun and interesting. Many schools, especially in the central Iowa region, will have a computer science class or some sort of IT type of class that you can do in high school. I know DMAC, for example, has their career academy. Is that what?
Yes.
Yes. So there's more focused opportunities to explore and work in IT. At Iowa State, we run a program called IT Adventures, which is a club-based activity to get kids interested in IT in general. DMAC has been a partner on that. And then, as Rob mentioned, the Iowa Cyber Hub is looking to try to do the same things in cyber. So between our 2 schools, we're trying a lot to get that interest. The state of Iowa is pushing computer science education as a requirement in high school, then middle school, and down into elementary school. So that's coming down the road. So I think there's a lot of excitement about opportunities for students to learn about IT and see if it's something that's fun for them.
Yeah, kind of like try on their hat, see if it's really something that fits for them. That's a really great opportunity.
And students, even while they're in K-12, and the school administrators will help if there are IT companies, and actually every company has an IT division. Visit some of the companies that are in your own town and just go in and chat with some of the people about the IT occupations that are available right there. You can see the kind of work environment these individuals work in. You can ask them about what they do on a daily basis. I think it's a good way. And they may even, a lot of our high school students have to work, and there may be opportunities for some part-time jobs, even if it's, sweeping the floors, anything, just to get in and get acquainted and learn the culture of some of these great companies. The other thing that obviously talk to your counselors in school. I mean, I know they're busy, but they may know individuals. Talk to your teachers that may be bringing in speakers. We have a lot of business people coming in, even to college classes, to talk about opportunities in their business. And what I tell my grandchildren, and Doug can tell me if this is a good thing to say, I said, if you can do math, you can do anything. So to not avoid those math classes and learn, again, I never volunteered for a math class in my life, but I took a lot of it. And the more math you can understand, it opens up so many doors in so many careers, whether you end up being an engineer or a computer scientist. But that's important to do.
Don't discount those math classes. Super important. Pay attention to those. So I love how you're basically saying, like, really try new things, see if it works for you, get out there, really kind of just try to experience something to see if it's right for you. And that can kind of put you on a pathway. So speaking of different pathways, money is potentially involved with a lot of students when they're looking into their future or colleges. So is there any financial support available for students in these computer science programs?
Well, I tell you, right now is a great time. There's such a demand in industry. First of all, anyone who has financial need and they file for Pell, which is the FAFSA, so the free application for federal financial aid, lowest income individuals would get over $6,000 a year to help support their college tuition and other costs. So it's very easy to get in, in Iowa State's tuition is low, DMAX is the lowest in the state. So that would be number one. Second, the Governor Reynolds developed Future Ready Iowa under it is last dollar scholarships. So individuals who, have financial need, and before they would have to go out and borrow money, the state will step in and pay tuition in a little over 50 different high demand career areas that the state identifies. Many of them related to computer science. In the last 2 years, 2,883 students at DMAC have had their tuition paid by last dollar scholarships, drawing down $7.3 million. So look, if you're an Iowa student, look under Future Ready Iowa, last dollar scholarships, see all the high demand jobs that the state will pay your tuition to get. And again, you have to apply for your FAFSA and do the grants that you don't have to pay back, but before you take out a loan. And third, every college and university has a relatively large foundation that gives away scholarships. DMAC, we give away over $1.6 million in scholarships to our students every year. And in a lot of the areas, students don't apply. So there's money left on the table. So if money is your issue, call DMAC, call Iowa State, talk to financial aid, and they will walk you through the process to get you the best possible arrangement that fits your schedule. And also, once you get here, as I mentioned earlier, you can do face-to-face classes. You can do a lot of our programming online. And again, we're here to serve you, not the other way around.
I hope everyone's taking notes on all of that different money available out there. I loved how you said that a lot of money doesn't go claimed. I know that there's so many scholarships every year that simply students don't apply for. And so that money doesn't go anywhere. So apply for everything that you are eligible for. It's typically low risk, high reward. So keep that applying up. Do you have anything to add to that, Doug? I know that Rob gave us.
Oh, he did a great job. Those are the things that presidents do really good jobs of.
We asked the right person when it came to that. So thank you so much. So looking forward, as we come out of the pandemic, I know that we've talked a lot about digital options of learning and things like that. But technology is going to continue to evolve. So what changes are you preparing for in IT and technology career fields?
That's a Doug.
Yeah. And that, by the way, that's a very good question. Some of the discussions we've had with our advisory group, we got it from the teaching side, and a lot of what Rob has said, this ability to support multiple modes of teaching delivery. But if I look at what we're trying to prepare our students for, they're going to much more fall into a hybrid model of business. And how do we, especially in cybersecurity, which is such a collaborative effort to defend an organization. So we're exploring ways to try to help teach how to become a computer person in a hybrid type of work environment. We've never worried about that. Everybody would go, you'd go to the workplace and you'd all huddle around the coffee table or the foosball table or whatever. And so now we're looking at methods and ways that we can explore having students experience how would you operate in that. And a lot of this also comes from, and as Rob will I'm sure comment on, our employers are having those same type of work experience. Many of our internships now are remote. We have students who do internships around the country and never leave Ames, Iowa. Wow. So they're learning how to operate in this new model of IT. The
new norm kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a person that works from home, I can completely attest to that. So I think that that's something that's not going to be going away anytime soon. So get used to the hybrid model. So just as a reminder for our attendees, you also can ask your own questions to these super qualified individuals here using the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. So make sure to ask questions. You have the experts right here. Okay, but moving on from that, I know we talked a little bit about the hybrid model, working from home, but in general, what are some possible job and career opportunities with an IT or computer science degree from your school? I know that's a loaded question because there are so many different avenues that you can go down with that, but maybe just come in generalizations.
I think I think a big generalization I want to get across here is a lot of times people think when they're in a IT computing role that they're going to go work for a company whose primary output is computing.
Mhm.
And that's nowhere near the case. You look, as Rob mentioned a little while ago, every company on the planet is an IT company, whether they're making toasters or whether they're making tractors. They have an IT component. So we place students that support the company's ability to function from an IT standpoint, or we place students that actually go out into a Microsoft, an IBM, Google, Facebook, et cetera, where it's much clearer around, oh yeah, that's an IT job because that's an IT company. But we place a lot of students making, helping the company make tractors and other non-IT things.
Yeah. So like IT's in everything, essentially.
IT's everywhere.
And I would tell everybody, even if you're not going into IT, taking an elementary, or it would have to be elementary for me, entry level type computer science program would help you be a better employee and a better professional, no matter where you are on the administrative chain in your company. Right. And it's, you tend to think, well, you're gonna silo yourself. Don't do that. Get as wide a background as you can. First of all, you may like it, but second, it would help you do your job better. And if you want to move into leadership, you can be a better supervisor of others if you have a better understanding of what they do. That is, if I could go back and do anything different, I would never get into computer science as such, but I sure wish I had a better knowledge. And as Doug and I work together a lot in cybersecurity, I've almost got a PhD now in experiential, the world of here's what you should not do. But you got to go through it.
Yeah.
Yep. We talk a lot about computational thinking. That's the new buzzword, is everybody needs to have some amount of computational thinking because the whole world is digital.
And data analytics are every company now, they're data advised. And we'll be looking for a new person that can come in and help us better proactively manage and review our data, so that we see trends before they're actually, in place. I do want to introduce Michelle Roos, and I say this even if she wasn't on the call. She's one of our rock star faculty members who is a utility player, and I don't follow sports, but is active in so many areas and is a rock star in the computer science area. So Michelle, you might want to introduce yourself and then say what a good president I am.
All right. Well, I am Michelle Roos, and I am a professor here at DMAC. I'm also a district chair, which is one of our curricular and academic leadership roles. I do enjoy that I get to have more meetings with President Dunson this semester, so that's a lot of fun. But yeah, I do a lot with with our advisory board, and I've worked with Doug Jacobson a lot when we first started the cyber hub between DMAC and Iowa State. And so I kind of drive the curriculum and help grow the program in computer science here at DMAC.
We are so happy that you were able to join us today. So we're just talking about different career options that students can look into in the IT or computer science field, which we talked about how that's like a very big question because IT is in everything. But if you have any insight for the students today, we would love to hear from you.
There's so many different job titles, and at DMAC we have this IT pathways. So once you jump in, you don't necessarily have to have that end goal in mind. You can go a lot of different directions. You can go into computer information systems. You can go into cyber. From that, you can then get a job, and some of those jobs that you might be looking at are computer programmer, application developer, software engineer, test automation engineer. We even have a strong web development program. You could move into web development, web designer, even graphic designer if you want to add some art to your program. We have some, you can think of like a business analyst, and there's all sorts of jobs. And the great thing is there might be a job that I don't know about that you're going to get the training and you're going to go do, because new jobs are always coming up in the tech industry.
Wow. I love how all of you have kind of stated that it's not just a straight line when you get into this career. There's a lot of different avenues that you can kind of go down once you learn more about yourself and how you want to be part of it. So I think that's really great. So I'm going to move on to our next question because we only have, sadly, like 5 more minutes. I've gotten really wrapped up in the conversation. But does your school work with any state or national employers to help find jobs for graduates of your programs? And how do you help your students get connected?
Michelle, do you want to take that?
Yeah,
on?
we don't necessarily work with national employers. We have an advisory board that leads us in what's needed in the Des Moines metro area, and we have good, strong connections with those. We do have what's called a pathway navigator, and he is very instrumental in connecting with companies and getting students connected with internships and then getting those jobs. So
yeah, so that support. Yeah.
And I'd also add, under the area of work-based learning, we work with a lot of companies. Shazam actually will hire some of our second-term freshmen in IT, put them on year-round paid internships at Shazam. Most of them end up working for Shazam. In fact, they've got about 250 IT professionals in their West Des Moines office. 144 of them came through DMAC, and our 144 are averaging around $90,000 a year with a 2-year degree. And then Shazam, like many companies, will pay tuition reimbursement for those that want to go on and finish their 4-year degree. And to any companies that are within the sound of our voice, again, we're here to fill your workforce needs. So come and meet with us or meet with Doug and let us help develop a path or a talent pipeline for you. Because the sooner you identify good talent and get them familiar with your culture, the better chances you're going to have of securing a quality employee if and when they finish their academic programming.
I'm sure quite a few people's ears perked up at that mention of the salary right there. I know mine did, and I'm not even at DMAC or Iowa State. So hopefully some students are listening to that. So we have about 4 minutes left together. I have a couple questions up here that kind of connect with a few questions that are coming in with the Q&A. So the next thing I wanted to think about is just putting yourself back into your own high school shoes. So who you were when you were in high school. I know that maybe different career pathways might be different now, but what would be your biggest recommendation or piece of advice for attendees that are considering their next steps after high school?
I'd reach out to an academic advisor at DMAC or Iowa State. They will put you in touch with an academic department, related to the area of your major. And even if you're a sophomore in high school, it would not hurt to make those contacts and hear from them what are their recommendations as to those classes in high school you should take that would best prepare you for a move to Iowa State, DMAC, or any other college or university. It's never too soon to start planning because, again, it may be something you decide you don't want to do. And deciding you don't want to go into a particular major is as important as deciding that you do, so that you're honing down your choices to the thing that, again, it's got to be something you're gonna want to live with and have passion about and love doing. And I think talk to one of our advisors.
I think that's great advice right there. So I do have a question from, I think we have time for like 2 more really quick. So do you have a recommendation of having an internship while in college? Does that help land a job after graduation?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, and companies are discovering that internships are a great recruiting tool. So since there's such a shortage, we have companies that are grabbing students as full, and I'm sure Rob can say the same thing, Well, he already has. Shazam grabs full-time internships. We have companies that grab year-long students for year-long internships because that's how they keep them in the pipeline and hire them when it's done. So,
So yes, it would be
yes, yes.
And I would say it's important so that you do an internship in college. And if you want to change the trajectory of your path, you can do that too. If you decide you don't want to code all day, you'd rather move into project management or something like that. So.
And Michelle, do any of our dual enrollment classes relate to computer science in any way we're doing in the high schools now?
Yeah, we actually have a couple career academies going, one at Ankeny and the one at Carroll, where they do have the dual enrollment. And often the smaller schools, they will just be enrolled in some of our online classes and be doing dual enrollment with the high school.
Yeah, again, this is something that a high school student should talk to their counselor or whatever the position is in the K-12 that would assist them with planning. And again, ask the questions, because the goal is to help you find the career that you want. I mean, it's not to anyone's advantage to not have you be successful and happy.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way for us to close. This whole conversation has been so student focused and making sure that students are finding a path that's right for them and finding success within whatever they want to do. So thank you so much, all three of you, for joining today. I know I learned a lot, and I'm not even looking into going into DMAC or ISU, but I kind of wish that I was. So I just want to extend a massive thank you for joining us and speaking with me today and entertaining all of our students that are joining in. So thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right. So we are ending our first session, which was our panel with DMAC and ISU. So we have about a 15-minute break before our next session, but don't go away just yet because we have a short activity for participants. So to preview our next featured employers, Microsoft and Amazon, we're going to be playing a little game of, wait for it, it's called Microsoft or Amazon. I know, it's pretty ingenious right there. So what we're going to be doing is showing some facts on the screen that either apply to Microsoft or Amazon, and we want you to guess who this fact applies to. Now, by playing and participating, you will be entered to win a Tallo swag bag that includes a Tallo t-shirt. So the way in which you can play is we are going to have a poll pop up on the screen, and you just need to vote Microsoft or Amazon. It's pretty simple. I think I have complete and utter faith that you can get this. So our first question is the biggest corporate buyer of renewable energy. So would that be Microsoft or Amazon? So I believe we're going to have a poll pop up in a second. Microsoft or Amazon? Biggest corporate buyer of renewable energy. I think a poll should be popping up pretty soon. If not, maybe we can answer it in the chat. Oh, there it is. Found it. Microsoft or Amazon? Biggest corporate buyer of renewable energy. So caring about the environment. Not stating that the other one doesn't, but biggest corporate buyer. Let's see. Remember, participating could get you a Tallo swag bag with a very fancy Tallo t-shirt. All right, let's give us a couple more seconds. All right, so hopefully we've had participants that have answered either Microsoft or Amazon and potentially win a swag bag. Let's see what our answer is. Amazon. So Amazon is the #1 corporate buyer of renewable energy. So they are trying their best to be environmentally safe in this world today, because we know that that is super important. All right, let's see our next one. Okay. Company was started in 1995 with the intention to sell books. Microsoft or Amazon? There's that poll. Let's think about it. Company was started in 1995 with the intention to sell books. Let's think back. What does Amazon typically sell? I mean, everything. Amazon sells everything. What does Microsoft typically sell? All right. And the correct answer is Amazon. So really, really great job here. 100% got this one correct. Fun fact, we were just in Seattle and we saw the first bookstore that turned away Jeff Bezos when he came up with his idea. Bet he's regretting that right now. All right, next question. Okay, let's see. Released the Xbox in 2001. Was this Microsoft or was this Amazon? I'm sure many of you are aware of this one. I didn't know. I'm not a huge gamer person. Microsoft or Amazon? It is Microsoft. So I unfortunately just learned this, but I think the vast majority, 86% of you were aware that Microsoft launched the Xbox in 2001. Okay, next question. So workers have a 91% approval rating of their CEO's performance. Man, so they like him. That's positive. It's super positive here. 91% approval rating, especially at these big companies. So do we think that that's Microsoft or Amazon? Let's see. It is, in fact, Microsoft. So the corporate culture there is apparently super positive, and there's a huge approval rating of the CEO and the work environment. Not stating that there isn't one at Amazon. We just found this fact on Microsoft. All right, next up. So has a technical academy that helps workers become software engineers in just 9 months. So do we think that Microsoft has this program? Or does Amazon have this program? Pondering. Microsoft or Amazon? I didn't know about this. Let's see. Amazon. Yeah, so Amazon does have a program where it helps workers become software engineers. All right, we're going to do about 3 more questions. Okay. So it has over 25,000 products with a climate pledge friendly label on them. So let's think about this. Microsoft or Amazon? We're back into that climate and renewable energy thought process. All right. Amazon. So Amazon clearly is trying to fix their carbon footprint a little bit. They have a lot of things they're producing, so they want to make sure that they're renewable. Okay. Next up, created its own search engine in 2009 called Bing. In the attempt to, I guess, have some competition for Google. Instead of Google it, maybe Bing it. Is that Microsoft or Amazon? Let's see. It was Microsoft. So Bing still exists, which I did not know. I don't think it ever reached the ranks of Google, but if you need another search engine, Bing could potentially help you out there. All right. Last one before we give you a real break here. All right. Has a tradition where employees bring in M&Ms to commemorate, the hard word, commemorate their work anniversaries. So fun fact about this, they have to bring £1 for each year they've been at this company so they can share with everyone else. If you've been at this company for 10 years, bring 10 pounds of M&Ms. Microsoft or Amazon? Let's see. Microsoft. All right. Well, thank you so much for participating. One of you will be the recipient of a Tallo swag bag, including a very fancy and very stylish Tallo t-shirt that you can sport and showcase. So we will be back at 10 a.m. for our next session, where we will be hearing from Tim Batten from Microsoft. So you're going to be hearing directly from one of these two companies that we just learned so many fascinating facts about. So I will see all of you at 10 a.m. Make sure to take a break, stretch, walk around, move about a little bit. See you then. And we are back. So welcome everyone again. So if you are just joining with us, hello. It is time for our very first employer spotlight of the day. So I'm incredibly excited to introduce Tim Batten, the Senior Learning and Development Technical Trainer at Microsoft. So I know that this is going to be a really interesting and exciting session. So I'm just going to pass things right off to you, Tim, so you can go ahead and get started. Just a quick reminder to students, you can ask questions for Tim using the Q&A, and the last 10 minutes or so of the session, we will be able to ask him some of your burning questions. But hello, Tim. We are so happy that you are here. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you.
Morning. Yeah, good to be here. So a little bit to everybody. I'm Tim Batten. I'm the Senior Learning and Development Technical Trainer here in Des Moines, Iowa. Been working part of Microsoft since 2013, and I've been carrying on through there. So it's good to see some vested interests, starting to work its way up. And for a long time, we weren't very well known here in Des Moines specifically. We tried to stay a little bit more hidden due to the type of work that happens here. But slowly but surely, the presence has been more and more felt and more realized as we've grown and developed to have a major hub here in Des Moines. I'm gonna get a little bit of a presentation going here, so let me get that started. And this, click all the right buttons as one does. So let me get this going, y'all. There we go. Come on. Computer's just doing what it wants to do there for a second. All right. So should be good on screen now. But as part of this, employer spotlight, I wanted to kind of let everyone know here a little bit about what is available in the area. And a lot of times people will think, oh, Microsoft, I need to, have this, big computer science degree, or, I need to be based in the Seattle area to get a job with them. And the surprising part is we're kind of all over the place. And more specifically, we hire any and everything in between, from your, supreme business leaders and out there and genius minds figuring out how to, bring the next revolution in computing. But we also hire all the way into the everyday people that, make all that stuff work. And when we think about what that means and that scale, and so when someone needs to pull a Word document off of an online database, or access their email, or to play games on Xbox, all of that's got to be actually running somewhere. So how we do that and how we diverse and how we meet that need is part of our cloud computing platform. And more specifically, that has to exist somewhere, and that's our data centers. Des Moines is fortunate enough to host one of the largest data center populations and square footage that we have in the world. It's kind of a nice little quiet little secret that we've got here in town. And the last portion of, as we talk about that, is that cloud computing platform, what we call Azure. We live and breathe by Azure, and most of the world does, in terms of the various things that run, accessing, like I said before, things simple as email, all the way as complicated as how do medical records get communicated from hospital to hospital, or how are we able to look up the various items from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. But as we kind of fast forward, give you kind of a brief introduction to myself. Again, I've been working for Microsoft in various forms since 2013, and just recently, took on that next level into a more program management. So my title actually changed between when I talked to the folks organizing this and today. So I'm now a senior technical program manager. It's a big mouthful of words. But what it means is my main job is I'm looking at all the newest, latest, and greatest out there and figuring out what do our people in the field need to know in order to work on it in terms of servicing, in terms of repairing, replacing, fixing it when it goes wrong, but also more on the individual side of growth and development. So, how do I help support someone in their career goals of how do I get to that next job? What do I need to do to help myself grow and learn? What kind of certification and options do I have for continuing that kind of lifelong learning? If you find out in the workforce out there, one of the most desirable qualities an individual can have is that mindset of continual growth, or to be that, lifelong learner, that person that is ready and willing to dive into something and figure it out and, maybe stumble along the way, but learn something from that experience. So for me, I started just as your average everyday technician. For us, they're the individuals out there replacing computer parts, whether it's replacing a hard drive that has failed, or figuring out why a cable is having issues and we need to repair or replace it. I moved from there into a leadership role, kind of if you're familiar with like a construction environment, some people would call it like a foreman or a supervisor, but manage a shift of technicians to make sure that the day-to-day work got done. From there, I took over our deployments and decommissions. So all the new equipment coming into Des Moines and all the old equipment making its way out. So making sure that that's steady workflow. And then I kind of shifted over to the training realm. So how do I take average Joe or Susan off the street and teach them this stuff? How can we take someone that maybe has no technical background, or maybe has a completely different background, and bring them in and have them be able to perform the day-to-day activities, have them be able to fix some of those problems. Like I said, just recently kind of shifted more into a more global program management role. So looking at that as a big wider net, a little bit less in the day-to-day, in the weeds, so to say. Talking a bit, just gonna take a little, remember, just keep things moving. Our data centers are a pretty wide range of individuals. We tend to all come from very diverse backgrounds. You will always get the individuals who are, fresh out of college, maybe with a computer science degree, but we also have pulled people from various trades. Whether it's I've got individuals that have come from a retail background, working in, insert major chain store here. I've also gotten individuals from other jobs and trades, electricians coming in. I've got other folks that have come right out of high school. One of my more recent employees that we were going through all the training, has been a kind of a wealth and a breadth of fun to work with, is a former delivery driver for a shipping company. They have big brown trucks. So, and in terms of, that talking back about that gate, about what does it take to kind of get into this environment, it's, not this big scary thing that we feel like we have to, have these advanced mathematics and computer science and 4-year degrees or a master's degree in these. I don't have any of those. I did graduate from Drake here locally, but I mean, the closest thing that I'm using out of my degrees is some occasional math that I have to do in terms of figuring out how long or what are the dimensions of something. So probably not even using that. I had a really smooth transition into this role that kind of I found the job, I applied, and ended up interviewing well and got the role as an introductory technician, and I've kind of worked my way up from there. I don't think I would be in the same place that I was had that opportunity been made aware to me and discovered it. But it kind of goes back into saying that, we're in the terms of the data center realm, it's not just this idea that you need people that are all of one mindset or all with the same background. We want that diverse experience. We want the individuals coming from areas that we may not have hired from before. What can we glean and impact off of, the way, work is happening day to day in this previous field, or someone with this other background and experience. Yes, we may have a little bit more ramp up time to teach that person the things that they know, but in the long run, we're better for it. In that long run, we're able to use their background, their experience, their perspective. And sometimes that perspective is just a new, fresh set of eyes. Sometimes that perspective is, that a newer, younger generation to come in with different life experiences. Just as kind of throughout the presentation, we'll kind of talk about what it takes to kind of make all this stuff running. My roles and my perspective as part of Microsoft is not the people that's bringing you, the latest Windows updates and, the newest, latest games into Xbox. That's a whole nother different side of our company, and one that, hopefully some of you are interested in and some may pursue down the line. But in terms of what's close to home, is what we have within our data center program, and what the teams of individuals that it takes to run it, and as well as all the teams that support those individuals, as part of the day-to-day. So throughout some of these, you'll see photos and video of things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. We'll kind of cover about, what is our cloud and what does it take to run it. We'll talk a little bit about a little bit of sneaking into what is Azure and kind of our backbone to all of that. We'll go into some of the career opportunities that are in the data center, whether it be technicians, or inventory and asset or logistics, program and people managers, learning and leadership development, and even things such as, mechanical and electrical engineers, if that's your fancy. Talk a little bit about the life or the day-to-day of our introductory roles of a data center technician, and talk about a little about, what some of the future and opportunities may look like. I did want to do just a quick video. This was one that was thankfully featured. It wasn't filmed in Des Moines, but it was matched in our sister site in Washington. But you get to kind of see what the inside of it looks like. That's audio coming through okay?
Hey, Tim.
Yes?
So we're not getting the audio right
Not getting the audio.
now.
Okay. Let me just make sure that that is being piped through.
Hey, Tim.
Go ahead.
When you go to
There's a little bit of echo there.
Yeah, I think we're having a little technical
Sorry about all that feedback, Tim. When you go to screen share, there will be a little video, there will be a little box at the bottom that says like share sound for video.
Yeah, that would do it. And share sound. Always the one little checkbox that you miss. All right.
Always sneaks up on you.
Always does. All right, let's try that again.
The view may be generic, but this is actually one of my favorite places in the world. Why? Well, I think it represents the most important infrastructure of the 21st century. This is a part of Microsoft's Columbia Data Center campuses. These house the computers that fuel our lives. There are more than 20 buildings, each large enough to house 2 commercial aircraft. They fill 2 million square feet. They're spread out over 300 acres. But what's really interesting is what's inside. It's something that almost no one ever gets to go see. But come with me. It's COVID times. I need to wear my mask, but I'll show you around. Well, as we walk around, first, I've just spared you not just a metal detector, but what is probably the longest and most substantial security checkpoint you'll ever find on planet Earth. But what is so interesting to me is what you see here. This is just a glimpse of the types of server computers that we find in room after room and building after building on these campuses. There are almost 500,000 of these server computers. They store as much data as you would find in more than 50,000 libraries of Congress. And I think that captures so well how this really is the infrastructure for almost everything that we're engaged in today. The way you live your life, the way you do your work, the way research and development are all moving forward. It all relies on this enormous amount of data and this enormous amount of computing power. So you just see here so much innovation all connecting together. But actually, that's not the end of the story. Come back outside and I'll show you one more really interesting piece. These campuses represent not only the most advanced digital infrastructure in the world, but some of the most advanced energy infrastructure as well. Why? Well, first, if we ever lose power from the electrical grid, we need to keep the computers running. There are more than 19,000 battery cells, each like the battery under the hood of your car, that will do just that. And at the same time that that happens, these big electrical generators will start operating as well. In fact, there's more than 140 of these generators on these campuses. Each of these will power the equivalent of 3,000 homes. The good news is with the latest advances in emissions technology, they actually give out less emission than a typical lawnmower you might use in your backyard. Each today runs on diesel fuel. In fact, there are tens of thousands of gallons of diesel fuel stored here, but not 10 years from now. We've said that by the end of this decade, each one of these needs to go. They'll be replaced by either new generators that run on hydrogen power or new advanced fuel cells. And in that, you see this extraordinary intersection between digital technology, energy technology, environmental science, and the need for innovation. This, in so many ways, is the physical embodiment of our mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more.
So, double tap. So one, Brad Smith, our chief legal officer, is way better on camera than I am. But thankfully we were able to show some of the things. Obviously, there are plenty of things out there that can't be shown. That's part of the reason why we do have those protected areas And we require a lot of, sort of screenings and making sure that we have the right individuals coming to work for us. But you started seeing into a little bit about, what sort of things we're all about. And I won't have time to get into all of these, but it's part of the reason why I personally have, stuck with Microsoft throughout my career so far with them. And that's that mission, that empower every organization and every person to achieve more. And sometimes more is, hey, getting that little bit more done. Sometimes that's making things something easier. Sometimes that's taking a burden off. And what can we do with technology to start alleviating some of that? Again, most people are pretty familiar with the things that we do. The way that impacts the world isn't always felt, though. So, how does a package know how to get from the West Coast to the East Coast in the most efficient way? There's software and things like that that tell us how to do that. Or how can we get medical advances into areas where, internet and power are not necessarily easily available? As part of that, we do take a general forward stance towards, some of those responsibilities and towards climate advancement. You mentioned getting rid of all of our generators. It's a big ordeal, and it's a big burden to carry in terms of how do we still be able to provide the services that are needed for things like hospitals. When if the power goes out, how do they access the medical records that they need? Somewhere a computer's got to run and get those delivered. Just some of the overall presence. We promised to be carbon neutral by 2012, and we actually met that. So everything that we're taking in and processing, we're handling responsibly. We plan to be carbon negative by 2030. So doing more for the environment than damage that we're potentially able, and actually water positive by 2030 as well. As we think about kind of that forward looking, that's something individuals want to be involved with, and some of the other, wider, bigger projects of things.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt you. We only have about 3 minutes left together. I know, time flies, right?
We can skip ahead then.
Okay, we have quite a few questions for you coming into the chat. So I wanted to make sure we could pay a little attention to some of the attendees and what they want to know from you.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good? All
Fire
right.
away.
So I have a question coming from Megan. What is the best way, in your opinion, to get a job at Microsoft? Kind of a loaded question, but what do you think?
So the best way I would say is to, one, let your uniqueness stand out. Obviously the first thing is to just try to get that application in and get selected. So clean resume, make something that stands out. But whenever I'm doing interviews, I'm looking for someone that's going to bring in what's new, what is something that's unique about that person. Getting the same kind of, well, I did blah, 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 is really, how one interview starts bleeding into the next. Yeah. Making yourself that individual that can be remembered of, oh, I remembered Megan. She had this really cool background or story or thing like that. That's how you carry your through to those next rounds. And it's always my best advice.
Yeah, so stick out from the crowd. Mm-hmm. Find something about yourself that is unique. Love that advice. So what is your favorite part about working at Microsoft?
My favorite part is a lot of times the little stuff that no one ever sees. It's what is the next new thing around the corner that didn't quite work? Or how did we have to make this kind of janky solution, but it looks very nice in terms of the customer, and then we fix it for the next round. But we may have had to do something that's a little goofy at the start to get it to work.
So like the process, not the product all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it. So I think that's a really creative way to think about it. There's not just like one specific part, but the process of going through and figuring out how to fix a problem. That's
having fun with failure is a little bit of
love that. Fun with failure. All right, couple more questions.
Sure.
We have about 1 minute. I think that we can do it though. So do you have any cool benefits or perks from working at Amazon, or not Amazon, Microsoft? Amazon's next.
One of the ones that I've been more and more taking advantage of is we do have a kind of, it started as a fitness program, which is just like, trying to be inclusive to all areas. So you basically just bill it back to them, and they'll pick up the tab up to almost like a couple $1,000s a year.
Wow.
We've expanded that into kind of more mental health and awareness to include things like hobbies. So obviously some hobbies can't be all approved, but I do a lot of dog training with my 2 dogs, and the company helps support that.
What?
Additionally, with that same kind of mindset, I do a lot of work with some of the rescue organizations here in Des Moines, and Microsoft actually pays the charitable organization for every hour of work that I do for them.
Wow. I love that you talked earlier about like caring about the environment. So it seems like there's a lot of charitable giving going on in the Microsoft world. That's really cool. So I have one more question for you. I think we could go over like
All
5
right.
minutes or so. What advice would you give to someone who is interested in pursuing a PM role?
As pursuing a PM role, the hardest and the most crucial thing is staying organized. You can't see it on camera, but there's a big wall of crazy over here of everything that I've got going on. And sometimes that is a wall of, I can't get to that right now, but I have the idea and I need to jot it down, or I need to get a little bit something on paper to remind myself. And the best advice for a PM that I can have is always have something in the tank, but also stay organized with the things that are already on your plate.
It's like time
And
management.
time management, but that always, I'm chewing at something.
Okay. I think that is valuable advice that everyone in a lot of different career fields could definitely benefit from.
Yeah.
So those were the questions that we had in the Q&A. I think we just went over just by a minute, but that's okay. It was worth it.
We had a little bumps here and there.
I mean, it happens when you're working in the tech world. You have to anticipate some of these bumps every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for joining and speaking to the students today about your role at Microsoft and working at Microsoft. I know that there's a lot of interest within that. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Our next session is going to begin at 11:30. So it says 5 minutes, but we have about a 3-minute break. So please take a quick stretch break, move around a bit, and we will be back at 10:30 with Amazon, our last speaker of the day. All right. So see you then. Okay, everyone. We are back for our final exciting employer spotlight. So we have with us today, Chris Trotter, the IT support engineer at Amazon. So hi, Chris, how are you doing today?
Good morning.
Good morning. You ready?
I think so.
All right, so I'm gonna just pass it off to you, and I will probably with like about 5 minutes left check in with you regarding Q&A, but it's all yours.
Okay, that sounds great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Trotter. I am an IT support engineer at Amazon. Let me share my screen out here for you. I've been working at Amazon for just over a year. I've had the opportunity to build the first building in Bondurant, and then the new building that just opened about a month ago across the street. I deal with primarily network support. The support staff here in the buildings are responsible for dealing with everything that comes along. We are customer service oriented, so if I'm not working on network equipment, I'm helping somebody, every once in a while fix a printer. I've been in IT for about 25 years. Started out selling computers, moved into formal IT, worked for Polk County for about 10 years, and I've been doing consulting until I came to Amazon. So that's a little bit of background about me. Let me talk about Amazon OpsTech IT. OpsTech IT is the IT organization that supports the buildings and facilities that are built around Amazon's delivery system. So the global fulfillment centers, transportation, which would be the delivery centers like you see in Grimes and Ankeny, and then some of the specialty solutions. They do have lockers. We don't have a lot of this stuff yet in the Des Moines area. It'll be here sooner or later. They do have lockers at Whole Foods, so you can actually place an order from Amazon and pick up your stuff from inside the Whole Foods store. So, but we put all of the IT technology that's in these facilities, that is our responsibility. You're talking about a group of about, I think the number is 5,500 people supporting about 800 buildings. That number is changing all the time though. We're growing like crazy. And that's really the biggest opportunity with Amazon, is just the amount of growth that we're going through right now. It's kind of unbelievable to me, and it's a great experience for me to be a part of. And you know, the slogan right on the jobs page, which I'll share the link with that with you guys later, is we are at the heart of Amazon operations. You know, the building that I'm in, you know, we have wireless networks, we have hundreds of computers, printers, everything you name it. We've got everything under the sun. We have a robot that delivers totes around for the people to load with boxes. We have three main roles: the IT support technician, the support manager, and the support engineer, which is my job. The technician is the guy that goes around and fixes everything inside of the building. We have them doing everything from setting up new user accounts. You know, if somebody's locked out, if their computer doesn't turn on, their job is to find the right procedure to fix an issue and give that world-class service, which is something that Amazon really likes to talk about, as far as whether you're a customer inside the building, you know, the person that's loading a box inside the building, or the actual customer out in the field that's purchasing our stuff. World-class service is something we try to offer across the board. To go back to me, I am the engineer. I had a part in actually assembling the network equipment and all of the facility that's a part of this building. We go to various sites. You know, they're building several sites in Iowa and Omaha right now. Our job is to kind of create the policies and the procedures and think a little bit higher level than what the technicians do, and we set all that stuff up for them. So they're going to be writing the documents, setting up systems that automate things. So, you know, one of the tasks that I've been set up with here is setting up some automated policies, some scripting. Scripting is a huge thing here at Amazon. It's basically anywhere. Scripting is just out of this world. Any of you students that are looking to learn and you want one skill, you know, you guys can ask me whatever kind of questions you want. I'm going to tell you right now, learn a programming language. Whether you're going to be a project manager or anything, just so you know the logic and the things that are involved to be able to take some of these processes and look at them in a way that's valuable to you, and how you can also use that stuff every day. You know, I am coding something one way or another every day, whether it's a document that we have to automate the formatting. It's sometimes as simple as that. We make what's called a change management document that has to go through multiple people, and we set up workflows that bring all all that together into one nice shell. And so it's kind of our task to learn and expand our knowledge to make it easier for whether it's the technician, the manager, or just the people in the building. You know, our operations staff here, we try to do things that simplify their jobs. And if we can simplify their jobs, it's going to make our jobs a lot easier. The manager is the person that kind of brings all of this together, okay? They're seeing everything at the highest level and really trying to coordinate all those pieces. They're taking the work that I'm doing. Number one, sometimes they're being a project manager for these new facilities. They'll bring a new manager in, and their job is to that's how you learn to see all of the moving parts, is to facilitate building one of these buildings. And it's mind-blowing to me, the number of moving parts that go into a facility like this. You know, unfortunately, because of COVID, we don't give the tours. You can actually request a virtual tour. But you know, the first time I walked into, the building as it was being built blew my mind. But then when you go from the place where it's just getting started to one of these facilities that's fully functioning, you know, with 2,000 employees moving stuff in and out of these buildings every day, it's amazing to see what's going on. And the manager is kind of the buffer zone between the staff, first of all, getting everyone up to speed, learning what they do. You know, they're the ones that are responsible for the first phase of the hiring, but they also work directly with the managers of the other areas in the building, so we can come in and meet their needs as quickly and as smoothly as possible. Why Amazon? This is, when I started working on this presentation, I was looking around, and there is so much in the way of IT at Amazon. I could have probably eaten up the whole morning just talking about all the different areas. You know, you've got AWS, you've got Kindle, you've got working with the actual Amazon site, Audible. Take a look at, you know, the Amazon Jobs website, which I listed here at the end, and just, you know, reading about, sorry, I can't leave my mouse alone, reading about all of the different levels of things that are going on at Amazon. It's amazing. The tagline for Amazon, or one of them, is "It's always day one." And basically what that means is if we don't have the attitude that it's a new day, it's our first day every day, the first time that it's day two, then we're going to be behind everyone else. And they mean that in terms of the customer experience. As being an employee at Amazon, if you know, they encourage us to think about it as every day is our first day, and we have, you know, many new experiences and just so many opportunities. It's kind of unreal. The one thing that is really amazing, and it's going through a big change right now at Amazon, is part of the expectation for the IT support staff is setting their own professional development program, learning, getting certifications, bringing in new ideas, bringing in new experiences for everything. And every day is a learning opportunity. That's my biggest takeaway from It's Always Day One, is I always have the chance to see something new, work in a different area. Even in this building, I've been here for a year. I know where mostly everything is, But every day there's an opportunity for something else. We have our own learning management system where we can take internal classes to learn about the processes at Amazon, but they also provide us with the tools to go out and get these certifications. They set you up with, in the mentoring network, you get set up with someone that has the same position as you or a position that you would like to have in the future, and you work through that with them and see exactly what it's like to be doing that job. I can't speak highly enough about the level of diversity and assistance that people get around here in terms of just advancing their career. And that's really, I think we're going to share these out at the end, but about a month ago, Amazon changed their tuition policy plan. They now offer, if you're a frontline employee, which means you are hourly and working in one of the fulfillment centers, they will pay within 90 days of employment, they will pay 100% of college tuition. That link right there is going to be the first one. And then the second one, the Upskilling 2025 plan, is able to, pardon me, I'm not reading too much. It's a program to cross-train and train people for higher paid, higher skilled jobs. They want to have 100,000 people. Let's just take a look. They would like to provide $1.2 billion to 300,000 employees. This does include the college tuition, but there are other programs. There's a program that's called Surge to IT, which is for the folks that are on the front line to actually train inside the building into what they call an equipment coordinator position, which still works for the building, but works very directly with OpsTech IT to be able to learn the skills to transition into an OpsTech IT job at Amazon. AWS is just exploding. There are many different types of positions there as well. As you can see right here, there are a lot of different types of positions that you can get into. There is an internship program and an apprenticeship program. AboutAmazon.com is a great place to start, but also the Amazon.jobs site. You can see all of the different kinds of jobs. The link I provided is a direct link to OpsTech IT, which is why we're here today. So I'm going to be a little greedy about that. We'd rather have you come work for us, but there are a lot of other careers that you can find within Amazon. And, the nice thing with this career choice program, if you start working at Amazon and you find that you want to be a nurse or a doctor or whatever, there's no limitation on what you can use that college tuition for. So if you decide that IT isn't a thing for you, you can still take advantage of that career choice program to move into some of the other, whatever career you want. The sky's the limit. So I think that's about it for me.
Wow, well, that was really informative. I loved how much information you gave students about the support and the culture of helping employees learn and kind of capitalize on their goals. That's incredible. Yeah. Well, the Q&A is filled right now. So we have quite a few questions for you about your experience at Amazon and some guidance for some of the students here. Wow, there are a lot. Okay, so first of all, let's start with a simple question. What's your favorite part of working at Amazon?
My favorite part of working at Amazon is the people that I work with. We have a great, it really changes by the day. I think there are 1,800 people here. I know that I deal with anywhere between 200 and 300 people, the actual operations staff. We don't get out, I don't get out on the lines very much, but I'm working directly with the managers, making new relationships. I deal with people in India, I deal with people in Texas, all over the place. And the nice thing is everyone works together to share their information and create that environment where it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not have the same opinion, as long as you know that you can come out on the other side. It's a tremendous, I love the number of people that I work with.
That's amazing. It's really positive culture going on there, it seems. I think the fact that it's okay to fail is a huge, I think more companies need to follow with that mindset. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to fail. So
Yeah.
love that. All right. Do you work remote or on location?
Depends on the day. I can work remotely. I have the capability because I am actually sometimes going to buildings that don't have network capability. I work completely remote, either off of my phone or in a hotspot, and sit in a construction yard with bulldozers rolling by sometimes. So I can do my job from wherever I want.
Oh, cool.
They prefer to have us here, but I can work from anywhere.
Oh, nice to know. So I think that can kind of feed into our next question about the hours of what you're working. So what are your hours like? Is it the same every day, dependent?
No, and so the engineer two, I try to work 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. We have what are called quad shifts, where the other engineers, the engineer one and the associates and the equipment coordinators, they work 4 days, 4 10-hour days. We have some, they really frown upon us working a 12-hour day. They don't really want us to work more than a 9 or 10-hour day. But we actually are supposed to have a hard stop at 12 hours. Obviously if something's broken and I have to work on it, sometimes that goes out the window. So I work 40 hours a week. My staff works 40 hours a week. They're pretty good about giving us overtime. Sometimes that overtime is not as friendly as you think it is, though.
Oh, good to know. So it's kind of dependent, but it's nice that they have that cutoff. So you're not overworking yourself or feeling that.
No, and that's what it's all about is,
Yeah.
Hard stop, 12 hours. And if you get beyond, I think it's 50 hours in a week, they really try to get you out of the way and stop working and take a break and all that. And when we're doing these new site builds, it sometimes gets like that. So
it's nice that they value your personal time as well. So, oh man, we have so many questions coming in. You are really like piquing interest right now. So do you know of, or if Amazon is offering any internships or apprenticeships right now?
They do.
Okay.
That is not, OpSec IT has their own apprenticeship program. We don't have anything here locally. I would refer everyone back to, am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull this down a little bit. So there is, number one, there's a website called Amazon Future Engineer that you can go in, and there's actually some learning. There's high school. High school, you're kind of at the end of the program, but there's a lot of information that they provide because kind of the forward moving and forward thinking is with Amazon is going to be robotics, and they focus a lot on that in there. But that about Amazon.com can point you in the right direction to a lot of those other jobs. This is the actual Amazon.jobs website. This is my Amazon operations. OpSec IT is kind of what I just gave you guys. There are many videos that talk about a lot more that are of the things that are going on different levels. There are project managers here. And I don't know, to get to it, I don't know that this shows internships. I think you have to go to that about Amazon.com, and I know that they have some of that there.
So explore some of those resources. I think that's a really great use of the time. Thank you for sharing those. I think students are definitely going to find usage there. All right, let's try to get a few more in. We have about 3 minutes together. So this is kind of looping back to something you mentioned earlier. So what do you mean by programming language, and how would I start learning that?
Well, a programming language, depending on where you want to go, I mean, you have, on the basic level, you have things like Microsoft PowerShell, Java. If you're going into networking, Python is probably the best way to go. Pick up a book, start with that. You're gonna take probably gonna take a programming class in college. Comp sci will have you do that, whether you're going into, my son is a student at DMAC right now, and he took I can't remember what they called it, but it was a functional logic class. So you were writing pseudocode, that's what it is, pseudocode. So you weren't actually programming in any language, but you're kind of learning the skills on how to set variables and do some of those other things that you would put in there.
I'm sure that's very helpful for start, because I mean, when you start talking about programming language, I'm an English major, it goes right over my head. So I'm sure that's helping a lot of students here. So this is a fun one. What is your favorite Amazon product?
Well, if you ask my wife, she would say it would be the Amazon app. I may or may not buy a lot of stuff on there. To be honest, I use my Kindle all day long. I read, I buy my tech books on there. I don't own a physical book unless somebody gives it to me, or I can't get it any other way. I use it all the time.
Nice.
On my phone. I don't have a Kindle. That's a little too small of a screen for me, but
the Kindle app. So I think that Amazon app can be a little dangerous for some of us. It's so easy,
Yeah.
So I think we have time for one more question. So coming from a former FC associate, how common is it for a learning ambassador or PA to move into an IT role?
For somebody that's worked as an associate in the building, this is what I've said to people that are asking about that specifically, moving to that equipment coordinator. If you're in a learning ambassador position or a PA, you're already learning a skill set at Amazon. So you need to know if you want to move into IT, or if you want, because you have a ton of opportunities in operations. If you're not a fan of operations, you move into that equipment coordinator role. We had an area manager who actually moved into a lower level position just so he could get into IT here. So it's a little bit more common than you think. It's not as common as it used to be because they're expanding so rapidly, but 5 or 6 years ago, that's where everybody came from.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that puts us just about a minute over our time, but it was worth it. It was completely worth it. So thank you so much again for coming and speaking to all the students today. I know that you gave them a lot of valuable information and resources, so we really appreciate having you here.
Absolutely. Thanks for
thanks.
having me.
Yep. All right, everyone. That brings us to the end of our event today. So it has truly been a pleasure hosting of all of you here in Des Moines, from our attending students and classrooms to the colleges and the companies and employers who took the time out of their busy schedule to share the importance of industry here in Iowa. So we will be sending out a recording of this event. So if you need to send it out to anyone, as well as the resources that were shared from each session. So look out for that on Monday in an email from Team Tallo. So on behalf of the Greater Des Moines Partnership and Tallo, we thank you again for joining Career Launch DSM, IT and Technology. Hopefully you got something really beneficial from it. I mean, I know I did. So thank you so much for joining. Bye, everyone.